All right, welcome to video 3, where we're going to find an endpoint. Instead of looking for the partitioning point, we're going to be given the partitioning point in the problem. Here it says the partitioning point is at. I like to label this as XP for partitioning point and YP. Okay, so we're still following the formula. We're just going to work backwards a little bit. So I've got a segment going from A to B. It's in the ratio of 1 to 3. So my distance is going to be 1/4, which equals 0.25. I do find decimals easier to work with a lot of times in these problems. This is my x1 and my y1 value. So now I've got to find the coordinates of B. Again, I like to break the formula up. I want to look for my x value first. And I'm just going to write the formula. So x partitioning point, or my partitioning point x, should be equal to my starting x value plus my distance times my run. So now I'm just going to plug into the formula and solve. So my partitioning point x is 1 equals my starting x of 3 plus my distance, which it's 0.25, used as a decimal. I don't know my second x value, but I do know that my first one was a 3, so minus 3. So now I'm just going to follow the algebra. 3 plus, I'm going to distribute. At this point, I'm just going to label this x. I know I'm looking for my second x value. 0.25 times, it's a negative 0.75. I'm going to combine my like terms. And positive 3, negative 75 is plus 2.25. Subtract 2.25 from both sides. I get a negative 1.25 equals 0.25x. Divide by 0.25 on both sides, and I get a negative 5 equals my second x value. Do the same thing for my y value. Remember, I'm looking for my partitioning point y value, so I'm going to take my starting y value, add it to my distance, times my rise. Okay, so my partitioning point was a negative 2 at y. My initial y value was also a negative 2. My distance is 0.25. I don't know my second y value, but y it's minus a negative 2, so that's going to be plus 2. I'm going to follow the algebra. I'm going to distribute. I'm going to make this just y at this point. Positive times a positive. Combine my like terms. And then a negative 2 and a positive 0.5 is a negative 1.5. Add 1.5 to both sides. You get a negative 0.5 equals 0.25y. Divide by 0.25 on both sides. A negative 2 equals my second y value. So then now I was looking for point B, and I know that B is going to be at negative 5, negative 2. Let's do another example of this one. These tend to be a little more confusing for kids. Okay, we're going to look at a directed line segment from A. Here's my x1, y1, always label. To B, I'm looking for x2, y2, divided into the ratio of 4 to 2, which makes my distance equal to 4/6. I'll just leave it in a fraction at this point, because that's not going to be a friendly decimal to work with. And this is my x partitioning point and my y partitioning point. Okay, so let's start with our x values and plug into the formula. My x partition point is -8. My starting x is -5, plus my distance of 2/3. Oops. I did simplify this to 2/3 of my work. Times my run. So I've got my second x value I'm looking for. It would be minus a -5, so that's going to be plus 5. I would suggest you get out your handy dandy calculadoras. When I distribute 2/3 times x, I look at that as 2 times x over 3 times 1. I kind of envision this as a fraction. So I end up with a positive 2x over 3, and that allows me to work with it easier when I start to isolate my x. And then a positive 2/3 times 5, I'm just going to keep it simple, 2 times 5 is 10 thirds. See how I'm just keeping everything in thirds? It's going to make it easier to work with. I'm going to combine my like terms. A -5 and a positive 10 thirds. Put that into a calculator. It's a -5 thirds. Now I'm going to add 5 thirds to both sides. Double check my math here. I have a -8 plus 5 thirds. Yep. Then you end up with a -19 thirds equals 2x divided by 3. Now the nice thing here is I can multiply the entire equation by 3 and it clears my fractions. So I end up with a -19 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2, I get a -9.5 equals x. Follow suit with the y values. And I start out with a -4. That's my partitioning point. My starting y value is -8. My distance times my rise. I don't know y2, and it's minus a -8, so it'll be plus 8. -4. Again, I'm going to just keep this is going to be my only variable. And then I will have plus 16 thirds. Use my calculator to combine my like terms. I get a -8 thirds. Add 8 thirds to both sides. I end up with a -4 thirds equals thirds. Nice how it all has the same denominator. Multiply the equation by 3. Divide by 2. Now I know that my point B, which is my other endpoint, is -9.5, -2. Okay, this example is just like the ones we've already done, so I'm going to skip over this one. Same with this one. These will be done in class, but skipping over for our video. Let's just look at this last one because it's a little bit different. Now we're going from A, we're looking for x1, y1. We have our x2, y2, our second, our ending point, and we have our partitioning point. We have a ratio of 3 to 2, which gives us a distance of 3/5. And that's a nice decimal to work with, so that's 0.6. So let's do our x values. All we're going to change is where we put numbers into the formula. I still have my partition point x value is a -6. I don't know my starting x value, but got my distance times my run, which is x2 minus x1. I'm still going to distribute. Let's see, 0.6, that's plus 4.2, and then minus 0.6. Since I just have the same variable, I'm going to stop labeling it as 1. I'm going to combine my like terms here. and I get a 0.4x plus 4.2. Subtract 4.2 from both sides. Divide by 0.4 on both sides, and I get a negative 25.5 equals my x1. Do the same thing for the y values. I have a negative 12 as my partitioning point. I'm looking for y1, my distance times my rise, which is my y2, minus my y1 that I'm looking for. I'm going to distribute using my calculator. Combine those like terms. Subtract 7.2 from both sides. Divide by 0.4 on both sides, and I get a negative 48 equals my y1. So I was looking for point A, which is my x1, y1. I now know it's at negative 25.5 and negative 48. All right, guys. That's all there is to it. That's as complicated as it gets. It's just formula work. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we are happy to help you out. Hope you are doing good, and we'll talk to you soon.